Harvey Lambert, welcome to the studio as part of the Homecoming Humber Boxing Network, a Homecoming show, Fight Academy, Soft Mix, live on Fight Zone. Let's not beat around the bush, Harvey. May 10th, it'll be the first time you've ever fought professionally in your hometown. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's long awaited. It feels good to be back, and I thank you and Dennis and that for giving me this opportunity to be back and showcasing back to the people of Hull and that what I've been and stuff. It's been 10 years now, so it'll be 10 years in May. So
since you last ever fought in your own city.
It's madness. I know, 17, so it's
wow.
I know it's crazy, but.
And you've earned your craft really in your first 4 fights. You've obviously had to be away every time. So surely, I know there's going to be the added pressure of being in front of all your friends, your family, the whole crowd as it is. But it should be a bit easier, shouldn't it?
I'm not sure about that. I think every fight's the same. I'm not like I don't overly beat myself up about nerves and pressures and stuff. If I just enjoy it and relax it, which is just how it comes. You know what I mean?
Awesome. And for those people who might not know who you are, the ins and outs of your career, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey in boxing so far, and then finally what made you pursue a career professionally?
Well, I've been boxing since I was 6. It's the only thing I've ever done. Rubbish at football, everything else, I'm quite athletic, but that's it. Like, it's the only sport I've ever been good at and pursued, and as soon as I did it, I took to it, and I was really good at it from a really young age. And it's just, even though you go through ups and downs in your life, and it's just something that's always been like a staple for me. And my discipline and my everything I've learned from my life, I've learned with bandages on and gloves on my wrist. So it's guided me to where I am now as a 27-year-old man. And I've boxed all over the country. I've boxed the best kids. I've boxed all over the world as well. I wish my GB life was a bit longer, but that's for reasons out of my hands. But boxing for me is everything. You know what I mean? It's who I am. It's my identity, and I think that's been a good thing and a bad thing as well. It's really guided me to where I am now, and yeah, it's.
Where did that journey start then? Was it at St Paul's or was it at another club?
No, it was at Kingston. I'm from Boothry Estate originally.
Right, yeah.
So I tried to go when I was 5, and said you can't go till you was 8. So then I went again at 6. So I thought I'd maybe meet him in the middle. So then at 6 was like, right, we'll give him a week. And then by the end of the week, I was sparring the 10-year-olds. It was just
wow.
Just came to me really, really well. And it's I used to watch the Rocky films. And he was just like, my mum used to laugh, I used to do like the one-handed press-ups, and try and do it. I mean, well, I won't have been able to do them, but I was just, and I think the Rocky films was what I was watching, if you're ever home and you come home sick from school and stuff.
Yeah. Was you shadow boxing in your room and stuff?
Oh yeah, I was shadow boxing in my room. But and then I took to that really well, and then it was just wait until I was 11 and I could box, as a carded boxer and get on the road. But
and what were your stats as an amateur then?
I was busy as an amateur. Me and my dad always said we want 100 fights before we go pro, and I had 111 in the end.
Yeah. What do you know your record?
I won 92, lost 19, so it's not bad. But when you're travelling all over, you do get some bad results on the road, and if you fight in Liverpool, you're not winning.
Yeah, but what an apprenticeship though to get them under your belt.
Yeah, that's what we saw. Even when you do lose and you don't get the results you're after or you want, that's experience. That's to take on to where it matters now, and this is where it's mattering now.
Spot on. So you've alluded to it already, but you were part of the GB, wider squad, wasn't you? You could have pursued a chance to fight at the Olympics. What made you decide to turn professional instead?
It wasn't my decision. Okay. If it was, my goal was to be an Olympian. I felt like you mould my style to try and be the best 3-3s formatted amateur I could possibly be, and do that to the best level I could possibly do it. I was very successful, but at 69 kilos, I felt like I was the boy. To be fair, after Pat was the boy, and then he moved on, and then I felt like that was the shoes I was going to fulfil. And then, you know, I don't know if it's trying to make it more balanced with the females and giving more medals to the female side, so they got additional weights. And then, so the options I had was 71 or 63, and I'm not the biggest 69 at the time. 69 was my weight as well. So I want the biggest 69 at the time, which wasn't a problem. But then when it was just 71, I had all the killers from 75 coming down, and it was a bit different. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I had to decide. I've got to rather. At this point, there's only a year left till Paris, and I've got to really try and build into a 71 to try and like give myself the best possible chance. I can't make 63. I'm 6'1". You know, I can't physically do that. So it was like a rock and a hard place, and I thought I'm going to save a bit of my life, and you know, maybe save a year of potentially not doing that, and then jumping straight as a professional. Yeah,
and your style as well. Your style as a boxer probably wouldn't have suited them extra bit of weight as well.
I feel like for certain people, like they could really grow into that, and it was like a good chance to like move into that category. But I was so happy at 69. I'd walk around 71, 72. I never walk around heavy, and then I'd come down, and I was. Yeah, it was made for me.
So you decided to turn professional. You were featured on Bench Sky sports shows, box cards.
Yeah.
How did it feel starting out on such a big stage as well?
At the time,
you went on, say, the traditional Hull City Hall shows of the last 10 years. You went straight to the live on.
Yeah, in hindsight, I think I don't regret anything I've done, because at the time it was the right thing to do. But I think if I could amend that, I think I've done my career in reverse a little bit. I feel like I've started to push for that, and you tell all your pals, you know, my next fight's on Sky. You tell your missus I'm fighting on Sky, and it's great, innit? But you don't actually fight on Sky.
Yeah.
You're fighting at R5, and you know, you walking out, and you're seeing people looking for the seats, and you know, it's not what it is, and
not proper, yeah.
I'm not gonna. It's good. It was really good. Like, it was a really good experience. I had 2 fights with them, you know, and I feel like because there's that, like, they're like stable, if you like, a fighters is that big, you could only maybe fight like 2 or 3 times a year. I think unless you're Anthony Joshua, can fight 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, well, whereas on this homecoming card, you're going to be headlining it, obviously. Yeah. Even though you have had a couple of fights under your belt, you will have friends, family members never seen you fight as a professional.
No.
Like, say, was it your first fight 5:30 in Bournemouth?
First fight was Bournemouth 5:30. I think I sold maybe 35 tickets, which was really good.
Which was amazing.
Yeah, it's nearly France. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
So it's when you know, and then I had 20 of my boys there, and that obviously would have gone if it was, you know, anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that was nice, and you know, it's nice to feel that like people don't have to stress and can just come to
the chances are, and hopefully, you know, you're going to be fighting in front of a packed out Hull. Do you know?
100%, yeah. I haven't, you know, how many does it hold?
Well, hopefully looking about maybe creeping up nearly 1,000. I don't know if the bar will be able to cope with that, but we'll have a go.
Maybe waiting for a pound later, but I won't be with it. No, well, I mean, maybe the World Championships, but apart from that, I don't think I've got close to 1,000.
Yeah,
you know?
Exciting times.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you say, top of the bill as well, hopefully. So, when reflecting on your first few years as a professional, how do you think it has gone? Critics might say could have done with being a bit more active, but who cares about what they think? What do you think?
Well, me and especially my dad, when we ask his critics, you know what I mean? No one more brutally honest and realistic than me and him, and we should be more active, definitely. But a lot of it's out your hands, and you know, you get offered certain things and they just don't make sense. And then obviously I've got my twins, I've got 2 girls, and you know, everyone tells you how much your life changes when you have kids and stuff, and you always say, yeah, you don't really agree, and then you have kids, and then you're like...
You haven't just had one, you've had 2.
I don't know by half, like, but yeah, so it's... That part is like in your life as well, so it's, you know, my first year or so as a professional, I was out in Newcastle, so I was Monday to Friday there, and then I can imagine how stressed out my missus was, you know, with 2 young children, so it's hard to find that balance, you know, so... It's nice to think I'm back training locally, I'm fighting locally, and it's...
And we spoke off camera about you when I interviewed Samir, he talked about he got into that, you know, too big of a risk club or too hard to fight club. You're already, even though you've only had 4 fights, you're creeping into that category where it is harder for you to get opponents down now to have a scrap into it.
Yeah, it's each their own. I mean, some people will be happy fighting X amount of lads on the road, or journeymen as we call them. You know, and that's fair enough, and I agree with that. And I'm not saying that's the wrong way to go. I'd struggle, and I have struggled with fighting them type of fights. And you know, it's hard to go from fighting since I've been 11. You're fighting in national finals, and in every fight I've had since 11 has been top level inferior, or as high a level as I could be. So to go from doing that for a decade and a half to then dropping down and fighting, no disrespect to anybody here, by the way, fighting people that are fighting 5 times in a month, it's hard, you know what I mean, when they just don't really want to be there and they're doing it for X amount of money. So for me, I want to be in real fights. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to fight Terence Crawford in 2 fights time, do you know what I mean? I don't want that, but I mean, I want to be in fights that are testing me, and you know, fights that people want to talk about and people want to go to, and Harvey's up against it tonight, and do you know what I mean? Like, they're the type of fights I want to be in.
And especially when people, when people are paying the ticket money as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, my pals have watched me fight all over and gone to win the ABAs and stuff, and at the time that was huge. It still is now. So it's like, it's hard to go from that and then say, 5 years later, I'm now fighting that. You know? So but I understand there's more to it than that, and I'm not disrespecting anybody that fights them, because I understand you end up being world class if you do that, and you can do that. So it's just preference. That's purely just on me, yeah.
Yeah. Your last fight, you came up against tough Bulgarian Nikolai, is it?
Nikolai, yeah.
Stoyanov on a GBM show. How did you feel that fight went?
I feel it went well. I feel like I didn't know much about him. I got matched, I think, maybe 6 days before the fight, which is another thing that I think is like, that's just part of the parcel though. Like, you know, when you're fighting in championships and stuff, you find out the night before we're fighting, so that's not a problem. But you know, you would like more time. In an ideal world.
Especially when you've got your style, you might be preparing on how to deal with that or dispatch that opponent as well.
Yeah, I mean, I gave a bit of weight away. I mean, if you watch the fight, you probably able to tell he's huge. He's as big as me and about as wide as my dad. So he's
he looked scary, mate. He looked like a tough bloke.
Honestly, it was. I looked at him when he first walked in, and I seen he had this little pencil moustache, and I thought, oh my god, like I've landed on my feet here. And then I seen him on the scales, and then I seen him have his electrolytes, and I thought, this guy's huge. He bounced off the scales, and I was like, he's not a journeyman, this fella. I said, who's matching with him? And then he was trying to talk to me through the full fight and stuff. He really fancied it. Like he thought he was going to tear me over. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think if he comes back to England, which I think he will, you know, I mean, he boxed a kid from Repton who was 7-0 a couple of fights before me, and I think he should have got the nod. On that, what I watched of him.
You did knock him down. Did you knock him down twice or the once?
I knocked him down twice. I got a count at the end of the second round, because you know the sponsors, the big Toblerone things on the edge of the ring.
Yeah.
One of them went in between my legs, and I tried to like kick it out. As I've kicked it out, I've like stood on it and like fumbled a bit, and he's coming over like pressing, like forcing the pace, and so I've hit it with my hand out the ring, and as I've hit it, I've touched down. So this referee's jumped on me. I'm moaning like hell. Yeah. This kid Nikolai's buzzing. He comes running over, just creates a right hand spin off, and he goes down in sensor. It was all right, but
I remember watching it. It did look like a slip, do you know? But yeah, like you say, he was pushing the.
I've told everyone it's a slip, like.
Class. So, last 2 questions. So, what are your next 2 years in boxing looking like? What are you hoping to achieve in the next 2 years? Because that'd take you to 29 as well, wouldn't it?
29. I feel like I'm at the stage in my career now where I want to be in proper fights. I'm 4-0. I understand you can't be fighting for a British title at 4-0, but unless you flyweight. But you know, I'm restricted to the fights I can have. But you know, I want to be in proper fights. I want to be in real fights and fights that make sense. It's hard, like you say. It's hard, like me training. And if I know I'm in a fight, and even if I don't believe in it, it's hard to get up for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so. I want to stay in Hull for as long as I can, you know, build that portfolio based back in Hull, and I feel like the people around me deserve me to be back in Hull for like the foreseeable anyways.
But the thing is with Hull, it's like, say Sheffield, for example, Dennis is from, you've got the 2 football clubs, you've got Wednesday United. It is a divided city, whereas Hull, You know, you've only got the one club there. Yeah, rugby's a bit different, but everybody gets behind the fighters, don't they? So
Definitely,
if you can build that base up.
And Hull, I mean, it's a small town, but it's produced a lot of good fighters. It has produced a lot of good fighters, you know, and especially when I've been on the come up, like the last decade, we've had Samir, Tommy, Luke, like very successful fighters. We've had big Sky shows in Hull, you know. So it's, you know, it can be done, and it has been done. So there's no reason why we can't just follow on.
Spot on. Yeah. Final question then. What should fight fans expect from you Saturday the 10th of May? Homecoming show, top of the bill at DoubleTree by Hilton.
That's a good question. I don't take myself too seriously, and I feel like that portrays in our fight. Like, I'm not the most serious. Like, it's a fight. You know, it's like get your head down and go to war. I'm not like that at all. You know, I think being a boxer, I feel I'm an artist. I feel like I'm painting. I feel like it's dancing. It's something else. You know what I mean? And so it's. You know, I feel like I don't take anything too seriously, but, you know, I feel like I'm really going to take over. And, you know, we were on about we've never had a British champion. How great would that be to be say I can be a British champ, you know, early next year? I'd like to think anyway. So
that's definitely an aim for you then?
Yeah, definitely.
Title, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think I'm good pals with Samir, and, you know, I watched him fight. Was it right? It was Ryan Walsh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I watched that, and it was devastating. Do you know what I mean? And he'd done so much and really did deserve it. So it's like it is coming. You know. And there's a lot of good boys in all.
Well, let's hope this homecoming show is going to be the start of your presence in Hull, getting these fighting on these awesome cards, these big nights.
Yeah, definitely.
And I wish you all the best, Harvey. Really appreciate you coming down.
Thank you for bringing me back.
Top man.